Welcome to Poland Daily Culture. On today's episode, we're here in central Poland in the little city of Łowicz. Behind me is the Łowicz Ethnographic Museum. We're going to be showing you around the museum and all the sites inside. So you're going to find a lot more about Polish traditional culture. So join us on another fascinating journey around Polish culture.
One of the monuments of Łowicz culture, from architectural monument and historical mementos to folk art, is the museum in Łowicz. It is located in the former seminary, designed by tillmen from Jemeren and erected at the end of the 17th century by the primate Michał Radziejowski. The museum sets out to inspire the visitors and sensitize them to the past and current traditions of the region by the means of exhibitions, cultural events, and educational activities. The history of the museum collection in Łowicz dates back to the turn of the 19th century and 20th century and is strongly connected with Władysław Tarczyński, a collector and a social worker. He made his collection available to the public in 1905 and called it the Antiquities collection. The museum developed rapidly. It owned over 3,200 exhibits and a library until the outbreak of the First World War. Władysław Tarczyński also included objects and tools from the field of ethnography in the historical artistic collection. The Ethnographic Museum of Polish Tourist Society opened in 1910 and based on the collection of an outstanding social worker, Aniela Chmielińska. The collection of the Municipal Museum and the Ethnographic Museum was originally located together in a building purchased for the museum purposes at 16 Staryrynek Street, which was opened to the public until 1939. The period of the Second World War caused subsequent losses in the museum collections. The National Museum in Warsaw took over both collections in 1948 and formed its department. Connected collections were given a new residence in a reconstructed religious building dated from 1689. Owned by the Cardinal Michał Radziejowski Foundation, the branch of the Baroque art in Poland is situated in a former primate chapel dedicated to Saint Karol Borromeusz. It is an original flank of the 17th century building, which wasn't destroyed during wartime. The interior vault is designed by tillmen from Jemeren and is decorated with illusionistic frescoes by Michelangelo Palloni, showing the life of Charles Borromeo, a patron, missionary, and bishop of Milan. It's the best example of the Italian painter's artistic work in Poland from the turn of the 17th and 18th centuries. The paintings perfectly harmonizes with the stucco decoration on the vault and walls. There are also examples of artistic craft inside, such as furniture, fabrics, glassware, goldsmith, work, porcelain, painting, and sculpture.
One of the most striking things about the building is this, very bright light blue color. So what's the significance of the blue?
Dla księżaków kolor niebieski był kolorem specjalnym.
For inhabitants of the Łowicz Duchy, the blue color was a special one. First of all, blue is Holy Mary's color, and those people were very religious. Maybe you noticed that there is a small altar inside the house. This little place was extremely important. That's why blue was the most important one, more important than white.
Od białego i dlatego było takie przyzwyczajenie do malowania ścian na niebiesko. Ale były jeszcze dwa inne.
People thought that blue is cleaner than white. That's why they painted the walls blue. There were two more reasons why they painted their houses blue. In a village, on a farm, there are many animals and insects. People believed that insects didn't like blue and they won't fly inside the house. That's why they painted them blue.
Takie merytoryczne wytłumaczenie tego, ponieważ w niebieskim barwniku są składniki odstraszające owady.
But there is also another explanation. The blue color has components that scare away insects. And the second thing, houses painted blue meant that there was a marriageable girl. So men who looked for wives knew that there is a girl that they can marry.
Mieli od razu jasny sygnał, do którego domu wchodzić, szukając sobie żony.
These particular homes, were they quite rare in the city? Because obviously they look like a sort of home for the countryside, for the village, as opposed to the city. So was this a very common sight in the city of Łowicz, more than 100 years ago?
Nie, w Łowiczu takich domów nie było. W Łowiczu
No, there weren't houses like that in Łowicz. The inhabitants of Łowicz lived in tenement houses and various buildings. Wooden buildings with thatched roofs were built only for farmers living in villages.
plaży wiejskich takie domy były budowane.
Aha, but you would see this more typically in the village just outside of Łowicz.
Tak.
Yes, of course.
Okay, and they would also have the same striking blue color as well, or?
To zależało od czasu, dlatego że kolor niebieski
It depends on the period of time. The blue color was fashionable in a specific period of time. Sometimes the house was not painted at all. Sometimes it was painted white. It depends on the period of time.
to mogło wyglądać różnie, ale patrząc na wieś,
Villages had houses like that at the beginning of the 20th century and the 19th century. Nowadays, there are mostly brick buildings in villages. Such wooden cottage houses are very rare.
takich drewnianych chałup jest już coraz mniej.
I can see just on the sides, on the kind of the window shutters, you've got these quite striking sort of flower-based designs, which you kind of see everywhere around Łowicz, and I can see on your own clothing as well. Why did they have these particular designs? Is it something to make a point about the location that we're in, or was it just a random general design that people wanted to use flowers, or does it represent where they're from?
Tak naprawdę po trochu wszystko, natomiast księżacy
Yes, the inhabitants of the Łowicz Duchy took great care of everything that surrounded them. That's why every house had a beautiful garden with beautiful flowers. The house was beautifully painted. The shutters were painted and decorated as well.
też okiennice, które były ozdobione, rzeźbione i malowane. I w środku, jak się wchodziło, też widać
The inside of the house was very well cared for. There were many colorful decorations. It also concerns the clothing. Mine is modern. It only has a few elements of the original one. This is not the original costume of the Łowicz Duchy. The original one was very colorful. This feature was very characteristic for the inhabitants.
rzecz bardzo charakterystyczna właśnie dla księżaków.
So in this particular home, there are two rooms either side. So what was the function of each room?
Jedna izba to była izba świąteczna, wykorzystywana tylko
The first room was a Christmas room. It was used only at certain moments. Every Sunday was a special day. They used the room during Easter, Christmas, and feasts connected to Holy Mary. They also held weddings. There were some moments that people spent time in the Christmas room. They welcomed their guests there. The room had to be beautifully decorated. It had many folk art paper cutting and flower patterns.
Dlatego ma bardzo dużo wycinanek, ma kwiaty bibułowe, jest też ozdobiona pająkiem. W izbie świątecznej znajduje się
There was also an altar, a very important place for inhabitants of the Łowicz Duchy. So this is it when it comes to the holidays. The second room, on the other hand, was the everyday use room. It was just a little decorated. There was an equipment used for everyday life.
ozdobiona, ale już mniej jest tych ozdób. Są tam sprzęty służące do codziennego życia.
People used to cook, eat, and sleep here, but also people worked here. In the workroom here, we have a loom, a machine used for textile manufacturing.
Warsztat tkacki, urządzenie służące do wyrobu tkanin.
Fantastic. Anna Maria, thank you very much for telling us all about these homes.
Thank you very much.
The Open Centre of Folk Building Craft is situated in the garden adjacent to the museum and was established in the mid-60s of the 20th century. There are two peasant homesteads presented. Residential buildings have been equipped with furniture and decorations corresponding to the periods in which they were built and used.